what happens with Israel over and over again is God sends them a prophet, and the prophet gives legitimate warnings. They don't heed. So then what happens is the prophet continues to prophesy, but he prophesies in a way that they will not turn because exile has been decreed. The prophet shows up and says, all right, repent, which is what Yeshua starts off with. Repent, and if you'll repent, then one set of things happen. You don't. So then the next thing happens is the prophet, in this case Yeshua, continues to prophesy, and he continues to speak the truth, but he now speaks the truth in a way that it will not be understood, and he speaks the truth so that us, thousands of years later, can read it in light of what happened and can say, oh, that's what he was talking about. So he's speaking the truth, but he's speaking it in a way that those immediately around him can't take action based on that truth. But when they go into exile, which they did, then we have that record and we can say, oh, that's why they went into exile. That's what happened. That's the lesson for us today. Or in the case of Isaiah or Jeremiah or something, as Israel comes back from exile, they can look at the prophecies of Jeremiah and Isaiah and so forth and say, oh, that's why we went into exile. And interestingly, exile is therapeutic. They always get sent to some place that is intended to correct the problem that got them sent into exile. The thing that got them sent into exile to Babylon was idolatry. So they got shipped off to Idol Central. When they came back from the Babylonian exile, there was no longer any temptation to idol worship. Idol worship had been wrung out of the Jews. They don't do that anymore because the exile cured that. Okay? The thing that got them sent into exile this last time, 2,000 years ago, is too many scorpions in one bottle. They couldn't get along. Rabbis call it baseless hatred. So God says, fine, you can't get along? You hate your brother? We'll teach you what hatred really is. And he sends them out into the world, and we have pogroms and holocausts and a whole bunch of other things, and they learn firsthand what hatred really is. So when they come back, that's wrung out of them. But at some point, God decides, okay, we're going into exile. And at that point, the prophet switches from open speak to parables. Because he's still got stuff that has to be said, but he doesn't want the things that he says to be actionable by Israel because they're going into exile.